going in a lot easier.
Aaron Pratt and Sarah LaRose are soil conservationists with the National Resources Conservation Service in St. Albans.
This is usually like the hardest sample to get because it doesn't hold together, because there's no roots.
Pratt and LaRose are looking for a soil sample to be used in a rainfall simulator. They're digging in this cornfield to find a good example of a common agricultural practice.
So this is a sample from a cornfield that's been in corn continuously for 40 years.
This sample will be used to show how much water runs off and infiltrates the soil when 2 inches of rain falls on it per hour.
This is a rainfall simulator, and the buckets in front basically are going to show the runoff from the different types of soil samples that we have here, and the buckets in the back are going to show the infiltration rates to the different types of soils that we have.
The sample from the cornfield goes alongside another similar example of exposed and aggressively tilled soil. There are also 2 other soil samples in this demonstration. Both of those examples represent ground that's received minimal tillage and has been managed using cover crops. Once the simulation starts and the water begins to soak in, or not, the results are obvious.
It's such a good visual of where your soil is going when it's not covered that it might make them think twice about just tilling everything up and leaving everything bare, because the soil is basically what they need in order to make their crops. And if the soil keeps leaving their properties, then they're basically losing their own livelihood.
The practice of growing the same crop on the same acreage year after year is known as monocropping. In addition to increasing the chance for erosion, monocropping also decreases soil health. Rotational grazing, growing different crops on the same acreage, increases soil health, promotes biodiversity, and keeps the ground covered to prevent erosion.
This is a simulator. It gives us that visual. It helps us understand what is going on in that rainstorm. It boils down those messages about cover, about diversity of different crops, about the importance of having roots in the soil, different roots, diversity of roots, all those really important things that make a healthy living soil. That is what we can see as we're running this rainfall simulator. We can see the results of that and why it can help us keep our lake clean. It can help us have water in our soils for those drought times. You know, it really helps us both in terms of production on the farm, but then also in reducing those environmental impacts off of the farm.
The greatest asset of every farm is its topsoil. It's in those top 2 to 8 inches where a farmer's fortunes are won or lost. Impacts like planting and plowing, farming, expose topsoil. So making sure those practices are properly managed goes a long way to improving soil health.
What I'm trying to turn this into, it's going to look visually like chocolate cake. It's going to look so good you want to eat it.
Eric Noel raises beef cattle on Health Hero Farm in South Hero. Noel is a longtime practitioner of soil conservation techniques like pasturing, crop rotation, and minimal tillage.
I always look for root causes, because you find a root cause of something, you fix that, and you take care of a lot of other problems around once you find the root cause. And I figured out that you fix the soil, you get the fertility up, and you get it so it's like chocolate cake, and it'll infiltrate, and you get increased forage volume, increased nutrient density in the forage, which goes to getting more feed into the cattle, more nutrient dense feed into the cattle, which increases their weight gain. So it goes to the bottom line of the beef production also.
Noel and his family moved from a farm in Highgate to this farm in South Hero about 1.5 years ago. When they started getting the land ready for production, Noel knew it was going to take something heroic to get the soil to meet his needs.
This is our second growing season, and last year what we started with was nutrients that were very low, especially phosphorus, which is energy into the plant. And over the course of 2 growing seasons, we've done some amendments and some practices, and year on year we've increased the weight gain on cattle by 15%. Last year we were topping out about 1.7 pounds a day gain. This year we're pretty close to 2 pounds a day gain on the cattle, which is is what I want.
Noel knows what he does with his soil goes beyond his farm gate and puts him on the same footing as his fellow Vermonters.
No matter where you are, you're in a watershed, and when the rain falls, it's going to end up someplace. So it matters to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a farmer, if you're a landowner, a developer, or somebody that lives in the city. It doesn't matter. If you've got land and water hits it and rain hits it, you need to be thinking about this stuff, because the water is going to end up someplace. If you're not utilizing it and soaking it up where you are, it's going to run off for the most part, because a lot of the practices we use right now with farming and development and roads and highways, they don't think about what the water's doing.
This demonstration proves there's nothing muddy about this debate.
There's no way to hide it. There's no way to say, well, that really isn't the issue. It's very clear, or not so clear.
When it comes to the conservation of natural resources, everyone is on even ground. In South Hero, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.